Welcome back. Now, the journalist in Gaza that brought you the genocide that was ongoing, whether it was from the commercial TVs, the terrestrial TVs, or even from social media, had a huge role in giving the world the truth that was happening during the genocide, which started on October the 7th. Many had lost their lives. Over 200 journalists were slain for just doing one thing and one thing only, and that was their jobs. Joining me now, I'd like to welcome, and she makes a return to Hilaal TV, Shuruq Asad, who is a member of the General Secretariat of Palestine Journalism Syndicate. Shuruq, always a pleasure having you on. Shukran so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Now, I think, Shuruq, you must have been busy yesterday with many of your colleagues, of course, just covering those moments when the ceasefire was announced. But it was such a somber moment. I saw a video of Wael al-Dahdu, and just there was sadness, there was happiness, and him right over there just encapsulated what was such a difficult moment for so many media professionals, our colleagues, doing their jobs in Gaza.
Actually, yesterday, I have to say that, of course, I am happy. We are all happy that there will be no death anymore, no loss anymore. People will live, will eat, will keep their lives, will survive. But so there's this happiness, but full of sadness, because this year, nearly year and a half of genocide, of daily bombing, of war that, as you said, our colleagues were following daily, and we lost nearly more than 200. And even the last 3 days, we lost 3 of our colleagues in different areas. And let me say that yesterday was a very tough area on our colleagues too, and even our families and friends inside Gaza. I'm in Jerusalem, and I was hearing the return of the bombing, the sound, and the house was shaking from the hard bombing and heavy bombing on North Gaza. And we lost more than 50 people only last night. Some of our colleagues on their lives, they removed their helmets and safety gears last night, though the Israeli drones were all over Gaza sky as the last 15 months. They were happy, but I guess every colleague I talked to yesterday were as if they know that their loved ones will not be back. They know that this journey of coverage was exceptional. And they know also that without them, nothing of what we have seen would have really went on our screens. They were covering all this genocide, and they were victims at the same time because they lost a lot and they are traumatized and so on. And we talked about this, me and you, for a few months ago.
Yes.
So again, I say, yes, it is a very historical moment. What happened in Gaza did not happen in any other place in the world. What our colleagues did and still doing is very brave, very important. I kind of cried yesterday because there's no space for really being happy. Sadness is bigger. The price was very, very high. This price towards freedom, and especially we in Palestine, we still have a long way towards getting rid of occupation. But at least we cannot say that we are happy that we will not lose any more loved ones and neighborhoods.
Shuruq, we spoke about this. I remember we had that panel discussion on October the 7th. And part of the discussion was, how do journalists also act in their profession, but are also human beings at the same time? Yesterday, I had Ahmed Gunaim, who's a journalist. He lives here in South Africa. He was a digital content creator, and he had to become a journalist because the situation at the time forced him to become somebody documenting a genocide that is unfolding. And you and I follow each other on social media, and whenever I see you posting of the journalists that have been slain, They are human beings. They are mothers, they are fathers, they are wives, they are husbands, they are sons and they are daughters. They are human beings at the end of the day, and finding that middle ground was so difficult for them during this genocide.
Yes, yes, they are victims. They lost their loved ones, they lost their homes, they lost their equipment, they lost their offices. They run between, and when I talk to my colleagues, they run between their lives or covering a story and between providing clean water or food or pieces of bread to their families. Or even now in the winter, all this rain and cold that they feel, and they still go on. They run to find places for internet. Those tiny details, we can go on talking about them for hours and hours because each colleague is a story in this war. And usually journalists, they can go, for example, cover Iraq, for example, or any other place and go back home, or cover near the border, like what happens in Ukraine, and go back home. But in Gaza, they would target. It's their loved ones, it's their schools, it's their hospitals, it's their offices, it's their families, it's their tents. They were really victims, and I think they will wake up after this Sunday, hopefully, if we will really see this implemented, the agreement. They kept, all of them told me, we try to keep our feeling inside of us, to be able to go on and deliver and work and do our job. But now they will really wake up and they will count their loved ones who are dead. Yesterday, I heard so many of our colleagues with really very painful words, counting their cameramen, their colleagues, their journalists, they did not have time to mourn even within this war. So I think they will wake up and count their dead loved ones. Some told me they will go on, try to find the bodies or pieces of the bodies, bury them, mourn, feel sad at least as a human being, find what happened to their homes, deal with their traumas, it will not be an easy journey. And note that those journalists, our colleagues, have also a very important role for the coming months of implementation. They will deal with those emotions, but they will also continue on covering.
We've got 2 minutes left, Shuruq. The genocide, I think, has showed us just how media has played such a huge role, especially those in the Western media, the wording that was used, the way the actual carnage, the destruction that was covered. And has this, in your view, Shuruq, opened up the world to show that media is powerful, but it also has this ability to distort the truth? Because I think the world will tell you, those who have been following this genocide quite closely, it truly was the journalists on the ground taking their phones to give us the actual truth and to show us the dire living conditions many residents of Gaza had gone through.
Actually, to say something, first I want to thank you, and I want to thank every single journalist, foreigner, Arab, whoever really said the word of truth. And of course, the work of our colleagues inside Gaza. Note that Israel banned more than 4,000 foreign press to enter, journalists. But other foreign media who really did not see all this, and because it was a decision, not because there wasn't material, no, there was every single detail, but there was a decision not to see. I think those really fell from our eyes. And they weren't ethical, they weren't even human beings, and they were part of this genocide.
Shuruq, always a pleasure having you on here on Hilaal TV. Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure. That's Shuruq Asad, a member of the General Secretariat of Palestine Journalism Syndicate. After the break, I'm going to be speaking to Naim Gina, Middle Eastern political expert. We're going to talk about the political ramifications after the ceasefire in Gaza was agreed to. Stay tuned.